The record button, yeah.
Okay. So I'm here with Jennifer Langille, who is is it a sound therapist or a sound healer?
Sound healer or sound therapist, whichever.
Okay. And she is the owner of Primal Energy Relaxation. Um, yeah, this is my first time doing a recorded Zoom, so if we have any technical stuff, don't judge. Um, Yeah, so we wanted to talk today just before the Bell X talk comes out because mental health is such a huge issue. And especially with COVID and kind of getting through the second wave and people being more isolated, kind of thought we bring two brains together. Physiotherapy, of course, hits the physical health with people recovering from injury, illness, managing chronic pain and a whole host of other things. I don't directly treat mental health, but it definitely has a carryover into that. So I thought I'd bring Jennifer in and she can tell me what you guys do and we can kind of have a little bit of a discussion on mental health in this crazy world that we're living in. So welcome, Jen.
Hi. I hear my crazy dog coming back from a walk, so you might see a dog. So yeah, I focus on relaxation, but the main focus delivery method is through sound therapy or sound healing. So I think it's important for everyone to establish a self-care routine, and I even say a relaxation routine where you take time to recharge your batteries and restore. And when I was in the busy, crazy, hectic world, I found sound healing was just the most effective for me. So sound healing is what I use to work on that self care and work on my mental health. And if I start to feel like I'm getting panicky or overwhelmed, that's my go to. So, but I also incorporate other things like restorative yoga and meditation and mindfulness. So um, yeah, sorry. She's excited. So, she's gonna hit the gong. So that's my go-to, and I find it really effective and relaxing, and I love it.
So, background to this story of how a physiotherapist and a sound healer kind of mesh together. Jennifer and I are in a business course right now together, and we spend a lot of time on a similar forum as Zoom, weekly or more than weekly, learning all the business because we're both new business owners. But it was funny because we both do service industries and we also are working on people's well-being and health. So we kind of gravitated toward each other. And I think um, it's one of the times through COVID that I've noticed that you can really make strong connections with people, even if you're not in the same room. So when I met Jen first, it was like I had known her for years, even though we only knew each other virtually for a couple months. So I guess that's one thing that people can be doing is trying to connect. Um, my father would never say anything about mental health. Of course, he's a big tough guy and fixes cars and stuff like that. But he every week he gets together with his car buddies and they have like this little chat online. And I remember one day he even babysat my son and he was on Zoom like with his buddies. So sorry, I kind of went on a little bit of a little rant, but um, yeah, I just think we need to do something to protect ourselves. And I don't even think it's mental health so much as it's mental wellness. So,
Yeah, I agree. And you know, even if you're stuck on Zoom all day, I shouldn't say stuck, but even if you're on Zoom all day, you can get a little bit of Zoom fatigue. I guess there's a name for it now. So, I mean, connecting with other people was really important, but also, like I said, sound therapy is my go-to. So I always had my tuning forks just off the side. So if we had a break, I could just do something, or even when we had a bit of a tapping session, and even I find that was relaxing. Anything, just take a couple deep breaths during your break, And I found one thing was suggested to me too about, especially about the Zoom fatigue, is that um, don't spend your break talking with the other people about what you're talking about in your Zoom presentation. So actually turn off Zoom, turn off your camera, get a tea or take a couple deep breaths, or do a little 2-minute meditation. Anything will help, because it will get exhausting. Yeah, if you spend it's supposed to be your break and you're spending it talking, about the Zoom topic. So that's a little bit of advice I would suggest.
Yeah, I totally agree. Saying that you have your tools right beside you, I also have my physio tools. I have a foam roller, and I
Okay.
find, to talk about posture and pain, like I've had two people that actually had wrist pain and kind of just messaged me on the cusp, looking at one of them,
Yeah.
because of our setup, right? So we've been thrown into these at work, desks that, sometimes you even have professionals that can come and set you up with the right hip knee ratio and your arms are at the right position. And then we find ourselves sitting at the kitchen table, homeschooling our kids, dogs jumping everywhere, the fridge is too close, and we have these aches and pains. So part of it is computer setup, but also like I get backwards on my foam roller on my breaks because I find that I hunch and hunch and hunch and hunch, and then my back is so sore. So to try to, get into those opposite positions is great.
Yeah, and that helps you feel good. If you don't have those aches and pains, you feel better, and then that brings it back to your mental health as well. So, um, yeah, that's really important. I mean, that's still part of your self care, right? Like, that's part of a self.
Allergies, not COVID, just to let you know.
Oh, that's okay. As long as you're on Zoom, that's okay. So
Yeah, well, my I
it's
started
safe.
my wood stove, and I just had it clean, so it's a little smoky. So anyway, we're good. Okay, so I'm going to back you up because I know about sound healing because I've had the opportunity to have two different sound therapy sessions. One was with you in my living room with my neighbor from across the street. So I'll tag Megan in this video so she knows. Um, so tell me a little bit about what a typical sound healing would entail. What would you do? What would be the goal? That kind of thing.
Yeah, well, the goal is usually what we do is I would have a chat first to see what your issues were. If you just showed up to a sound bath I was hosting or something, we may not have the chance to do that. But usually, if it's a one-on-one session or I'm coming to your home, we'll have a little chat about what's going on with you, and even things that you don't think are relevant, like maybe you're not eating right, maybe you're not sleeping right. So just we kind of go over a whole spectrum of what you're looking for, and then we set a healing intention, which might sound a little silly to some people, but it's really helpful if you're mindful of why you're there, and you set an intention of what you want to do, and I have an intention and you have an intention, then it really strengthens the healing. But so I would look at, if you had some issues, let's say you're having, I get a lot of people, obviously since COVID, a lot of people with just anxiety, trouble sleeping, their mind runs at night. But also, these things are manifesting themselves in the body as aches and pains. Everyone's experiencing a lot of tingling, a lot of weird like sensations, and a lot of those can be linked back to stress. So basically, two of the main things that we work on in stress therapy, or I work on in my practice, are de-stressing and relaxation. And I guess insomnia too is usually a big one. So we would set an intention of what we want to do, and we would have a quick chat, and that would guide our session as to what instruments I used, um, the beats, the intensity, the frequencies, um, the position. So all of that would be guided. Now, if it was, like I said, just a drop-in kind of sound bath kind of thing, everything works anyway. So the sound is going to go where it needs to go, and it's going to help to induce the relaxation response and trigger that, and you're going to start healing and start to relax and feel better, even if I don't know what your issues are. But if I do know what your issues are, we can kind of do a shortcut and help focus on certain areas. So, but basically, what to expect is, first of all, it has nothing to do with a bath. My little guy always thought, that's weird, you're going to go and have a bath. But so you're bathed in sound. And
Oh,
what
okay.
you do, you just lay down and get relaxed, and you would have your eyes closed, is usually the most effective. So either an eye mask, like an eye pillow or something, or a scarf even, and lay down and get cozy and comfy and just release. It's kind of very similar to, if you've done yoga, to the practice of shavasana at the end. Very
Favorite
similar.
pose.
Yeah, that's what I like.
If I can settle down, which I find, well, actually, I'm in the middle of a 30-day yoga challenge right now. So I'm on day 16 or 17 today. And they're only little quick things. Like sometimes there is like as little as 15 or 20 minutes. I don't think there's been any since over 30 minutes, 35 minutes. So I try to get that in every day. And I find at the end of it, they never leave you long enough at the end because it's a video, but I feel more energized even though I'm doing nothing at the end. Like, does that make
Yeah.
sense?
The first sound bath I went to, um, it was at a little yoga studio downtown, and the whole time I was almost asleep. So you're kind of in a weird state sometimes where you're almost asleep, but you're conscious, and so you can hear everything, but you're so relaxed, you're almost sleeping. And I thought, oh my gosh, when this is over, I'm not going to have the energy to walk up, to walk up all those streets to get back to my car. And when I got outside, I swear I could have run around the commons 3 times. So it's very surprising. The other thing that is very surprising with sound healing is you're so relaxed, you lose the concept of time. So people often say to me, I thought you said this was going to be an hour. And I'll show that, like, look at your phone.
Yeah.
It was an hour.
So I have
And
that same thing happen when I'm in a massage, right? I'm like, that guy jipped me again, another 15 minutes. And then I look up and I'm like, oh no, he actually went over 5 minutes.
that's our go-to, right? We always think, are they trying to pull a wool over our eyes? But some people have come out after like 45 minutes or an hour of sound healing and said that felt like 10 minutes. It felt like 15 minutes. And so you lose that concept of time. And I do think it's kind of in that altered state. And also you're letting go of everything that you are holding on to during the day. We often do a breathing exercise, and on the exhale, you just let go of anything that doesn't serve you any longer.
Yeah.
And it's really like, I have clients who have 6 kids, 7 kids, and they just forget everything. You know what I mean? It's an escape. It's a bit of an escape, and it's healthy, and it's non-invasive, and it
Little side effects. Yeah.
yeah, and
I think
they
that's something people are looking for though, because like I'm hearing you speak about all these things and I'm thinking, well, if I was treating a client with similar issues, I can't directly treat their mental health, but I am looking at, I've been a physio for about 15 years, and I would say in the last 5 years or so, I've been prescribing. So like I would do less exercise fitness. Like when you think of going to physio, what you think of, like you're going to have them stretch you and you're going to do a whole bunch of exercises, and then they're going to put you on a machine or acupuncture at the end. And that's kind of like how it goes. And I haven't been treating like that for years and years. I think that what I do is I look at the holistic, like what's the person looking like. So when you were talking about sleep, I'm going to have that conversation with the client. Food, I'm not necessarily going to ask them directly what meals they're eating, but I'm definitely going to look at water intake and, do they think that their diet is good, bad, medium, can they approve, whatever.
yeah, yeah.
But I want to know what's important to them. So sometimes it's just easily getting up or in and out of a car or something like that. And I really want to look at that one thing and how it can serve their entire life, as opposed to, I guess, what people think of as the traditional physio is the doing to them. Like I can't remember the last time I stretched somebody's necks. And I mean, when I finished physio school, I spent thousands of dollars. And I mean, hundreds of hours doing courses to get these levels. Like there was kind of like a hierarchy. You needed this status, this certain level to be a good therapist, a manual therapist. And now we see with COVID, you can't do that with people anyway, really. Like there's very few people getting their necks stretched.
Right.
But if I can teach you how to set up your computer, then all of a sudden your neck and wrist pain go away, then that's more long lasting and more beneficial to your overall life as opposed to going in 3 times a week for an indefinite amount of time.
Well,
So,
also, I think that brings up a great point, which sound therapy and meditation and all of these self-care routines, all of these things focus on is empowerment.
yeah.
And with sound therapy, empowerment is really important. God love chiropractors because
Well,
chiropractors have changed my life.
yep.
But my issue with chiropractors is my chiropractor was the expert. I had to keep going, and I only felt good as I kept going. And he can't teach me to do the things at home that he does.
Yep.
But with sound therapy and with what you're talking about is self-empowerment and showing people how to set up their desk properly, then they can take care of their own health. And
Well,
in
I mean,
sound therapy, I do the same thing. Yeah, we teach people how to do toning, vocal toning, just with your voice or humming even. And you don't have to spend a cent. You don't have to buy, anything. You can just take care of yourself at home and create, a habit or a practice that triggers that relaxation and helps you de-stress. So I think empowerment is really big. And especially now during COVID, where, I mean, you can't always get out, or maybe you don't feel comfortable going out to places. And some people in their mental health really don't want to engage as much as they should. They just want this to be over. So I've been working with some people and just teaching them things they can do simply on their own.
well,
And
that's it too, because when I started this business, it was a lot to do with people that couldn't get out of the house. And because I was coming from long term care, nursing home, it was very easy to connect the dots to frail elderly, not driving anymore, icy sidewalks. Of course,
yeah,
they're not wanting going out. But as I was doing some market research for our course, there was a few people that actually mentioned to me that they have histories of abuse, or they have, stress issues, or how many people are just scared of getting COVID? There's a lot of people with a lot of fear. So by coming to them or doing it online, like it is a godsend for some people that can't leave the home.
yeah,
So
for
it's
sure.
not just frail medical problems that keep people from wanting to go out in public nowadays, especially. Or, the moms at home with 2 or 3 kids. Like tonight, I have to take my son to hockey, and he starts hockey at 5:15, gets off the ice at 6:15, and my other son has to get picked up at daycare by 6 o'clock. So what do? You know, you can't take the toddler into the rink, so I have to drive the 9-year-old to the rink, drop him off, go over and get the 3-year-old, bring him to the rink, pick up the other one, and then snacks in the car, and hopefully we don't ruin the bedtime routine too badly, right? So add whiplash into that, add a back injury. How are you going to get yourself fixed, let alone do all that shuffling around? Because kids still need to go, I mean, for their own mental health, they need to go to the rink. They need to be at daycare. They need to do these things, right? And
Yeah.
mama or daddy needs a little bit of rest at home. So it's easy for me to say, go and get somebody to look at it, but you need to find the right fit too, I think. So
Yeah, and I think the one benefit of if that has come out of COVID, if there is a benefit, is the availability of especially mental health services online.
yeah,
Because I have a couple of friends, and even myself at times where, if you're down in the dumps that much, I don't want to go out to see anyone. I don't want to try and pick out something to wear, and I don't want to, have to get on the bus or get, try and figure out how to get there and take time off work. So I think that this transition to online is amazing, and anyone can find a therapist, counselor, a meditation coach. I mean, all of us sound healers have been propelled into this. So,
yeah.
I started out with more, doing energy medicine, like working with Reiki or sound healing in a holistic way. And now I'm learning to practically have to learn to be a sound engineer. But the good thing is that it opens it up to so many more clients and so many more people who need help and need that support and need it from their home. Um, I have a friend in England now, and they have a more serious lockdown, and so there's people all over that can access people online now through Zoom or Facebook Live, and I think that's one good thing is that I hope it'll eliminate some of the barriers for people seeking mental health, and even just groups like get involved in a Zoom group. When we were stuck at home for so long, just the meetings that we had via Zoom, I found when they stopped, there was some loneliness. Like, I haven't been going out and having lunch with friends as much or doing things like that. So I do think that having groups via Zoom or, any kind of gathering, if you have certain interests, I think that would greatly help your mental health as well. Because once you get over being on camera and hearing your voice, I mean, I know some people don't like that and they always had an excuse why they had to turn their camera off. But, once you get over it, it's actually nice to be able to see people's faces and put names to faces.
Well, it's funny too because like the block, like I want to be behind the camera lens when people are taking pictures, right? I want to be the one taking pictures. Yeah. I very rarely, only since I've had kids really, that I'll jump in front of the camera because I want to have those memories down the road, but I'm very comfortable behind the lens. So to go on something like this, I've been doing like Facebook Lives actually only came about because I took days, what was it called? It was like a marketing conference. And one of the speakers came and talked to us and she was really adamant, like, do something that scares you. If you want to put your business out there and in life in general. And I'm like, you know what I'm scared to death of is go on Facebook Live. And I went home and I actually did my first Facebook Live that day because it was kind of like sink or swim, jump in the deep end. And then once you do it, it's not such a big deal. So
it's fun. I think it's fun. Yeah. And it's nice to connect because it's a way that you can connect to potential clients or even people who are just interested in following you and getting information from you. And they may turn into clients down the road or they may not, but it's just nice to connect with people and have kind of build a community, which I think is great. I mean, it's a lot easier when people do lives and you feel like you know them. Then when you finally meet them, like we finally met face to face, it was just like we had been friends for 20 years, right?
Wow. It was really crazy.
Yeah,
it's funny how fast you can connect. And then you think of it like when you're in that traditional office setting, sometimes you never connect with your coworkers. So
yeah.
But I think it's good that we set up some things to protect our mental health. So I did do, I'm going to put this blog up probably this Wednesday, but just some of the things that you can do to protect your mental health. I know we kind of pushed this through. We're going to do it in February, but Bell Let's Talk is coming up next week. I think it is the 29th, the Thursday. So we thought this is great time, but if you feel depressed or sad even, you're losing interest in activities you love, have low energy, sleep problems, which I hear a lot of, changes in your appetite or your weight, you're agitated, difficulty concentrating, which is a huge one, or you feel worthless or guilty, this is the time that you may be wanting to talk to somebody. And it doesn't mean that you have to go to professional help. That's not everybody's jam, but it is for some people. So the psychologists, the counselors, the therapists are out there. But it may just be like going to have a massage, booking a sound therapy treatment. Physio isn't something you think of for mental health, but if it is mental health because of sleep or it's because of pain, then, acupuncture helps, some gentle exercises and things. It's really helps a lot. So I guess, I'm going to put you on the spot, but can you show me what that thing is in the background, what it does?
Oh, a gong. Yeah. And regular Zoom. So Zoom, it might cut the sound out. Because if I do a Zoom session, then I have a whole like mixing boards and mics and all this stuff to try and trick Zoom. But it's just a large stand gong. Can you hear that? Is it cutting out? or does it sound good? Yeah.
It's
And
okay.
so, yeah, so that's the large gong. I mean, I have small gongs too, but then I also have, I mean, you remember that we have the healing, the Himalayan singing bowls,
Those
and
are amazing because we try to listen to meditation on YouTube most nights with the kids.
yeah, wow,
And if we're not doing a little bear goes to wherever, and we just put the music, typically it's either water rushing and we hear a lot of this kind of stuff in the background. I don't think I really put my finger on what I was hearing until, you're pointing it out, right? So it does really help. I love
yeah.
those sounds. They just make you feel comfortable. I guess that's the word I feel, like just comfort.
Well, sound healing is an ancient healing modality, and there's definitely something primal, which was where my name comes from.
Yep.
There's definitely something primal about it, about the gong, about the bowl, um, the drum, especially. Like, I have a frame drum here, and it's just very relaxing. Like, you can mimic the heartbeat as well, and this can help alter brain states as well, and take you down or put you up, whatever you
So
need.
that drum brings me back. It's funny how things kind of come at you. I'm an all over the place. Anybody knows me, I'm outside the box and I kind of brainstorm out loud. So, um,
Lateral thinker.
okay, that's a
Yeah,
fancy
that's
word
great.
for all over the place. So that drum, it's probably deer skin or moose skin or something like that.
Yeah.
It takes me back to a yurt a few years ago when I was pregnant, and I went on a women's retreat, and the women were in the yurt and they were playing the drums, and it was a singing circle. And I have never felt, it was almost like all the emotion rose up with all these women chanting the same, mantra or whatever it was. And it was just so spiritual, and it was just like something I've never experienced. And I'm not really that religious, but um it was almost like everything in my body was vibrating, and I could just, I don't know, I just felt like amazing. It's like
That's an
massage.
amazing
Yeah.
experience. Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
and there are more there's sound therapy or sound healing, and then I guess, either a component of that or an umbrella above that is more like of a more shamanic experience,
Okay.
and that might be close to what you experience too, where it really can put you in almost like a trance like state and alter your consciousness. It's just amazing. And when you say that sometimes you listen to the music and you don't know which instruments are which, as you can imagine, my boyfriend has had 50 sound healing sessions
Yeah.
probably with me, and knows all the instruments intimately. Like, he knows every sound. And when we do a session, he has no idea. I'm like, he said, well, I felt this tingling and it went down my whole left side. And I was like, okay, well, what instrument was I using? I don't know. Like, he doesn't even know which instrument. It's kind of like you lose yourself. And yeah,
And
it's
that's
really,
the point of meditation in general. So like,
yeah,
um, we're very Western society. I come from a science background, so it was a real huge push to get me into meditation, and I don't do it religiously. This 30-day yoga challenge is probably the most consistent I've been, but when you do meditate and you're in that right, like it does get you into some kind of trance state. So I don't really know how to scientifically explain that, but maybe we don't have to.
yeah. So there's lots of scientific information to kind of back it up, but there's a process of entrainment where it's kind of like two. If you put two grandfather clocks in a room together and they're just slightly off, eventually they will entrain and they will sync up.
Yep.
And so our bodies kind of do the same. It's thought that our brains do this. Our brain, can entrain as well. So when you create that rhythm with either a drum or anything, a singing bowl, or you create that frequency, you can actually change your brainwave state. So you're not thinking that you're relaxed or thinking that you're falling asleep or going to an altered state. You really are. So And meditation has so many benefits, and some people call sound therapy sound meditation because you're using that sound that you hear, whether it be the sound of the bowl, the gong, the drum, or the silence in between. You use that as a focal point. So I could never meditate. I always say this, since I was like 12 or 13, I could tried to meditate and I couldn't shut my brain off. I thought that was the job of meditation, with the skill was that you shut your brain off, which is impossible for me, as you can imagine. So when I went to like a half day retreat, and they had a gong and did a guided meditation, and that's the first time in my life where I actually like could actually get in deep meditation, and it works so quickly because you're focused on that. And it's like some other meditation, you have mantras, or you have words that aren't really words that you focus on, and that can be helpful because it creates a focal point. Sometimes when I used to do a visualization, I would think of waves crashing or something like that. That helps, but I find the sound is just amazing. Like it's really helpful, and especially like the sleep stories. And yeah, I'm working on a sleep story now. I used that when my little guy was like when he was smaller, and
Yeah.
I found them very helpful. But it's because you're shutting down the to-do list.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
pushing
and
the
that's
to-do
it.
list
Like
aside.
with the meditation and getting into that deep state, I find it extremely challenging. And in physio, most of the time, people's focal point is their pain, especially in chronic pain. A lot of people have function. They're still walking, they're still doing what they need to do, but they're reporting their pain at 8, 9, 10, and 10, which we know is very hard to be able to go through those movements. But that's how they're living in, because it's like they've practiced being really good at being in pain. So, they've never been able to let go. So I think that's what I was saying. In the last 5 years or so, I've really stepped away from prescribing exercise more, um, for those kind of people, is to give them 2 3 things to do, so it's a realistic list, and take away. So we've done sessions where it's just been the breathing, and it's the letting go, it's the stretching. And I think physio isn't, maybe the sports physios are better at it, but physio in general, I think, is good at doing and doing to, and getting people to do, than to take away. So less is more sometimes. um, I'm playing with this virtual reality, and I had some great success with it, because it is a great adjunct. So you put the virtual reality on, and it's not a game or anything. You just go to YouTube and you type in, remember the lady that had the pink dolphins, and she was just watching pink dolphins. And of course, with those videos, what kind of music is with it? There's probably gongs in it. There's
Yeah.
probably all that kind of stuff, right? And she came in 10 out of 10, and a couple acupuncture needles and a 10-minute video on the VR, and she walked out 0 out of 10. So just by changing her focal point and teaching her how to let go, it's okay to let go of some of those pain postures that were helpful when you first hurt yourself. But after time, it's not helpful. And I think it really is a skill to learn how to relax and let go. So whether it's for treating pain, whether it's to deal with stress, whether it's to just shut off that to-do list, I think that there's sometimes you need somebody to help you teach you how to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I have people who have, I mean, fairly serious pain issues, like, degenerative disc disease and things like, where they're constantly in pain. And I can't cure that. I can't fix that, you know, but for an hour, I give them permission to not have to hold themselves in a certain way, and with my restorative yoga training, I know how to set people up in a certain way to take, pressure off certain areas so they can be completely relaxed. You can't go into a sound session if you're in pain, and that's why sometimes we do the body scan, the guided meditation beginning, so you let go. And as you know, when you go to yoga and you're in shavasana or whatever, sometimes they'll say, okay, relax, and you think you're completely relaxed, and they're like, okay, now let go of all the tension in your shoulders, and then you relax 3 more inches into the mat.
Yeah.
It's like, you still carry a tension that you didn't even know you had. You didn't even know you were carrying. And especially the people I see with the lower back issues, they're almost not even laying flat on the massage table. They're almost like, because they don't know how to stop protecting that area. So they're
I said it's the bully muscles in that area that were so helpful at the beginning when you first had that injury, and then it becomes habit. And when you go to the massage therapist and they poke in that one trigger point, they're going
oh,
to a bully muscle. Um, so
I
the
know the point.
letting go of the bully muscle and letting the small postural muscles take care. And that's why I always say physio exercises are kind of stupid, because there's these little tiny movements and you're like, that's kind of a dumb thing. It doesn't move anything. It's not strong, but it's the tiny little muscles that support your body so that the bullies can let go. And I think that's where you get the pain. So in general, very general speaking, but
Yeah. And creating a safe space is just so important. I mean, like I said, especially, not to be sexist, but especially women like who are home and they're taking care of children all day. I mean, you remember what it's like. You still have small children, like, when you're not even going to the bathroom by yourself. So to then be able to come into a safe space where it's completely relaxing,
yeah.
It's dark, you're starting to calm down already, you can just let go, you're all warm and cozy, and then you're kind of bathed in sound, or you're doing a meditation, or like you said, listening to something, or doing the VR, like to give people that permission, and that it's a safe space because I'm kind of watching what's going on, you're not going to get interrupted. It's amazing. And just, even like I said, the people with severe pain, even that 1 hour, if they can get 1 hour, like even once a week, that they can take a vacation from that pain, and that they can just rejuvenate and restore, try to find some balance. Like it's definitely amazing to see the results. And also with sound therapy and meditation and yoga, as you know, there's a carryover effect.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have people who usually say, if they had twisted ankle or something sore, or their arches in their feet are aching, or their knees, and they get really good um, results from our session. Sometimes it lasts 3 or 4 days afterwards. And the more sessions you do, the longer it lasts. So it's pretty amazing. And then pair that with the take home stuff, and the teaching people, how to do it on their own, and how to self care, and just encouraging them to have a relaxation practice. Like, if you feel good when you sit down and have a tea, or go for a walk outside, try to do that more, because that definitely helps your mental health, your physical health, everything. So,
and I think movement is huge. And how do you get through movement when you're in pain? It's a vicious cycle, right? The more you move, the more you're in pain. You need to relearn how to do these things without causing injury. So,
and I mean that, yeah, when I had a couple of years where I went through some pretty serious chronic pain, and the physiotherapy, I mean, was amazing, changed my life. But the just to say that it was pain that was affecting me isn't necessarily true, because when you're in such chronic physical pain, your mental health is the first thing. Like it was, and even not so much depression or anything, but just exhaustion, a mental fatigue, like exhaustion. And when I started, going to the physiotherapist and things were better, it just, everything changed. And then they always say, when you think positive things happen, and it just helps you get out of that rut. And so I think that even though you don't treat mental health, I think it definitely, physical pain and especially chronic pain, definitely affects your mental health.
oh, there's no doubt, because sleep is huge, right? So I don't really do much
Yeah.
to do with sleep, but who are you going to talk to about what type of pillow? And when I had my concussion, my goodness, my physiotherapist actually gave me a bedtime and a wake time, and maybe not. I had a nap regiment that I wasn't allowed to nap so more than a certain amount of time. I actually got this Fitbit when I was rehabbing from it, because they wanted to keep my heart rate around a certain place
Okay.
because they didn't want me to get symptoms. So I had to actually keep my heart rate below a certain threshold, which isn't typically what you think of exercise. So um, it was maybe that was part of the shift, because I did go through a pretty significant rehab. I was off for almost 6 months, and it was really hard to get back to work full time. So and what I needed to do to learn is to do less and ask for help. So I think that came into my life for the reason of learning how to ask for help, because before that I was driven, and I was very much type A, and I was doing everything. I wasn't asking anybody for help. So now I will. So it's funny how things happen, I guess. But
That's great. Well, yeah, everything happens for a reason. So,
yeah,
and yeah, and now you're conscious and more mindful. I mean, mindfulness is one of the essential essential elements to me for for mental health. So meditation, mindfulness, and yeah, when you're in that mode where you're just go 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 and you're just grinding through, you're not really working on your mental health, your self care. So
well,
yes, establish
anything
a routine.
globally, whatever positive could have come out of COVID, I think that's one of them, is a lot of people are revisiting what's important to them. And even the idea of businesses allowing their employees to work from home, like the job satisfaction is going through the roof. And, just being able to walk your dog and not have to pay for dog daycare, like that's a financial burden as well. So,
And production hasn't gone down. The studies I've seen, I mean, they were shocked. They thought that if you let people stay at home, they're not going to work, and that's not the case. So,
yeah, because they say a happy employee
yeah,
is more productive than a disgruntled employee. And I think intuitively everybody knows that. It's just change is hard. And sometimes when you need to change, sometimes things push you to. And COVID surely did, because we've seen a lot of change. So,
yeah. And I have more people interested in learning about meditation and mindfulness and accepting the fact that, sometimes energy healing or different modalities are, people are way more open now to a whole bunch of different things. And
yeah.
I think that's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing. And the more tools we can have in our toolkit, I mean, the better equipped we're going to be. And, you know, acupuncture isn't for everyone and
Right.
sound healing isn't for everyone. And, but if you, stack that toolbox with a whole bunch of tools, then maybe yoga is for you, or sound healing, or definitely, physiotherapy, or seeing somebody. Yeah. It just adds to it. And that's why they call sound healing and meditation things complementary therapies, because no one's saying if you break your arm sit home and meditate. I mean, well, some people are, but the majority of people wouldn't suggest that you can heal like broken bones through it, but it's a complementary medicine. So if you're going through cancer treatment or things, and you can work in sound therapy or yoga, or even the flotation or the
Right.
float at the float center. I hear so many good things. I have to go. So any of those things that are complementary, they're not meant to replace anything.
Yeah.
They're just
Mine would
meant
be
to
sauna for
expand.
sure.
Oh yes,
The sauna.
the sauna. Yeah.
When I studied in Finland, I fell in love with saunas, and they call them sauna there. And I'll tell you, my goodness. Actually, I thought about buying one at one point, and it seemed like an impulse buy, but at the same time, is it really? Because
Yeah.
it's on
I
my
have a
wish list.
I have a portable sauna that you're welcome to borrow
Yeah,
anytime,
you were saying.
and it the healing powers of saunas are over and above me. I don't know anything about it, but I know that they're very healing and very healthy. And but I have an aversion to the heat, so I have to work through that. But mine, thank goodness, from your head up, you're okay. So I have a fan going full blast on my head, and I'm usually eating a freezy or a
Oh my
popsicle,
goodness.
and from here down, just yeah.
Well, I think that's an indication that you need to find your own mix. And just like not everybody likes every food that's served to you on a plate, you need to find your favorite foods. Because if you say, seafood pasta with extra scallops, I'm salivating, and some other person might be like, oh no. And like 3 cheese pizza might be your thing that you like. And I think that if you think about that analogy into your mental wellness strategy versus emergency go somewhere when you're really in trouble, I think that we can really benefit from that.
Yeah, we have to be more proactive. We have a very reactive system
Oh,
in
it
so
is.
many ways, not just healthcare, but in so many things. We have a reactive system, and we need to have a proactive system. And you talked about being in Finland or Iceland, or I think that some European countries have it down a little bit better with being proactive. So in North America, we have to start to learn to be more proactive and less reactive. So let's try and prevent the mental health issues or prevent the panic attacks instead of trying to deal with them when you're in a panic attack.
Yeah, and I think, if you do know somebody or yourself that's struggling, especially if you're thinking of suicide, get help. I'll link the emergency crisis number when I post this, but I really think that, the earlier ask for help, and it doesn't mean that you have to go full out and sit in front of the shrink and, the mental health specialist, what people consider a shrink, lay on the couch and spill your guts about your childhood. It could just be, getting a girlfriend together and having, your favorite cup of tea or beverage over, Zoom on a Tuesday night or whatever, and just tell people, talk, because if you don't talk, then you're not ever going to be able to get better. I mean, a lot of
Yeah,
people just grin and bear it and say that they can do it, but it's not. From my own personal experience, you really need help, and I think that's what my concussion taught me. Because if I didn't have it, who knows, right, where I'd be. But
and we also talked. You and I have talked quite a few times about the COVID, especially during COVID, about the loneliness and the isolation. So yeah, it's not always just depression or anxiety or panic or those things. Sometimes it's just isolation or feeling overwhelmed. I get a lot of overwhelm when I do an assessment, and I have a questionnaire. There's a lot of overwhelm, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of um, yeah, people just need support, and sometimes just reach out and give someone a call and say, how you making out during all this? Isn't this crazy? Like, maybe they just need someone to talk to, because I mean, I've gone through times where I know I've been in the house for 2 weeks at a time and haven't seen another person since all this has happened. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for talking to me.
thank you.
I'm going to link this into my blog that I post on Wednesday, and I'm going to put this up on Facebook. And you're going to put it up on your new YouTube channel that you're
Yes.
hosting.
And we need to do an individual session, because yeah, the sound bath with other people is great, but the individual session will be amazing. So we should set that up
Yeah,
and
so will the description, if you're interested in a sound therapy session or a talk with Jen, I'll put the information in the link, as well as if you want to be seen by physio or have a chat. I offer a free consult, and I have a promotion right now for 15% off your first visit if you book before February 15th. So,
yeah, great. Well,
awesome.
thanks. It was so
Well,
nice
have
to
a great
meet you.
day. I see
Yeah,
the sun. We don't always see it, so it's a good time to go for a walk and get some fresh air.
yeah, I'm going to the beach. That's my plan. That's my sound therapy. Nature sound therapy. Just listen to those waves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you have a wonderful day.
You too.
We'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.